everyone, and welcome to the Insanitarium, where we're going to be doing a very exciting build for me, which is a themed build where every part has been handpicked and we're going to be doing a little bit of customization to it as well. This is the Thermaltake Commander MSI Red build, which we can come up with a better name for the computer, I think, once it's done. Maybe we'll do a little voting thing on YouTube. But let's get to the parts list that you can see behind me in a little more detail.
To start off, we got the Thermaltake Commander MSI Epic Edition in black and red. The case features front USB 3.0 support, as well as a stylish exterior, including a pretty sweet looking side window. The inside of the case will include 5 fans, 3 of which include red LEDs, and all of them include black or white sleeving to match our color scheme. The motherboard is the Z170MX Gaming 5 from Gigabyte, featuring the Intel Z170 chipset and USB 3.1 support. And snuggled up close to that motherboard is the Intel Core i5-6600 for our processor. And we'll be using 16 gigs of g.skill Ripjaws V DDR4 clocked at 2400 MHz. For the CPU cooler, we'll be using the Hyper 212 Evo from Cooler Master. For our boot drive, we're going to be using the PNY CS1311 240GB SSD. And to power everything, we're going to be using the EVGA Supernova 850B2. This 850 watt bronze rated power supply should be more than enough power for even SLI GTX 1080s, so there is plenty of extra power headroom for any upgrades in the future. If you would like more information on any individual component, you can check for links in the description, as well as a PC part picker link to the build, as well as a link to the eBay listing if the build is still for sale. Alright guys, so to start off, I ran a 2-hour stability test using Ada64's built-in stability test, which confirmed that my build was stable and also being cooled very well. The CPU hovered at around 50 degrees Celsius, which here in Tennessee is about 15 degrees above Delta T, so that's pretty damn good. I then moved on to a Cinebench run, where our Core i5-6600 did pretty well, sliding in between the 3rd generation Core i7 8-threaded CPUs, which is impressive considering that this processor runs at 4 threads instead of 8. And then I fired up 3D Mark for some integrated graphics performance. So in CloudGate, note the score and also note the physics score and watch how it's going to jump when we insert a dedicated GPU into the computer. You can see in the CloudGate test that any game using this level of graphics would be very playable. But moving on over to the Skydiver benchmark, you can see the FPS drops quite a bit, making the integrated graphics really only viable for older games or maybe browser games. So with that said, I went through the slightly more laborious than I expected process of putting my little test GTX 750 inside of this case. Alright, so I went back to 3D Mark and you can see that the score jumped quite a bit with the GTX 750, more than doubled in the Skydiver test. And then moving on over to the CloudGate test, you can see as well that the score jumped quite a bit, almost doubled. And also take a look at the physics score, which jumped up a couple points in both of the benchmarks. Now with the GTX 750, I was able to run the Firestrike benchmark as well. And you can check the score and you can compare that result by doing a search online for Firestrike scores. And you can also take a look at how the temperatures fared in the Firestrike benchmark, just to see that the processor and the graphics card are both being very well ventilated. Both of them hovering at about the 50 degrees Celsius mark, which like I said earlier is about 15 or 20 degrees above Delta temperature here in Tennessee. Now for these next two benchmarks, they didn't feel like playing nice with a screenshot, so you can check out the temps while I put up the FPS numbers on the screen. In Tomb Raider on the Ultra preset, we had a minimum of 40 frames per second, max of 62, and an average of 49.7, which is pretty respectable at 1680 by 1050. And then finally in the Metro Last Light Redux benchmark, using the very high preset at 1680 by 1050 with SSAA on, motion blur set to normal, tessellation set to normal, anisotropic filtering set to 16x, and VSync and PhysX off. This combo achieved a playable but not great 26.51 average with a max of 54.88 and minimum of 10.42. And to finally conclude all the testing, I ran another 4-hour stability test using Ada64 before I packed up the computer.
Well, that's it for the video, folks. Be sure to check out any of the sleeving guides that are up. If they aren't up, they'll be coming out. I used all the techniques. Actually, I used this whole computer here to do the guide. As you can see, it turned out looking pretty sweet. So be sure to check that out. If you like this build in this video, go ahead and leave a like and leave a comment. If you didn't like it, keep a lookout for other builds because I'm going to be doing some other colored builds and some other, maybe getting into painting and adding LEDs to fans and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot more content on this channel for you do-it-yourselfers and for you people that just want to watch some cool tech stuff going on. So I'll see you all on the next PC build, and so long and farewell from the Insanitarium.